This week on ANN, educators from North America join an ADRA initiative in Southern Africa.
An artist in Mexico honors a little girl who was murdered.
And Pathfinders in the United Arab Emirates plant trees to help preserve the environment.
These stories and more coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency is collaborating with the North American Division Office of Education to offer educational development assistance to schools in Southern Africa.
That's right. Recently, ADRA accompanied 10 North American education leaders to evaluate and assess the needs of schools in Malawi.
Matthew Siliga, Vice President for Marketing and Development at ADRA, said, ADRA wants to ensure that every child has the best opportunities available to thrive and succeed. Nothing compares to the importance of providing access to quality education so that children and their families can break free from poverty during their lifetime.
Siliga adds that in order to accomplish this, ADRA wants to utilize the expertise of Adventist educators to leverage the knowledge, teacher experience, resource development, and grassroots networks that are already in place in the United States.
Since 2017, ADRA has been spearheading a multi-year project called the School Feeding Initiative, which is implemented in 5 countries in the Southern Africa region to provide food relief to communities devastated by the El Niño drought and support them on their road to recovery. In total, ADRA has fed more than 50,000 children at 186 schools across Southern Africa.
The education leaders visited 3 schools where they observed ADRA's school feeding project. They also met with community leaders, government officials, teachers, and administrators in the assessment process.
Apart from assessing the school environment, educators also visited nearby villages and met with parents, many of whom were illiterate. During their interview, they gained deeper insights into the damaging effects the severe drought brought upon the country and what those effects could mean for their children.
The trip is at a conceptual stage and discussions are ongoing on how to best maximize the program in Southern Africa.
ADRA and the Adventist Church recently kicked off its Every Child, Everywhere in School education campaign, spotlighting the educational needs of 262 million children around the world who are denied the right to be in school.
ADRA International sent this report.
Here in Malawi, north of Blantyre, and as you can see, many of the students are having classes underneath trees out in the open because there's not enough classrooms. So what we're going to do is help them build another classroom building. So lots of work, and we're going to certainly help them. And this is the type of project we want you to get involved with, so hope you're interested. I hope you want to come to ADRA Connections to help the communities, to work on our school project, but also to see a beautiful continent, beautiful countries, and beautiful wildlife in the amazing African continent.
When Daniel Gallardo first learned of the tragic death of 5-year-old Jimena Gomez in the news recently, it moved him, just as it did thousands of Seventh-day Adventists in Chiapas and across Mexico. Jimena was kidnapped from her home in the town of Malpaso and was missing for 10 days until her body was found on September 14, 2019. Gallardo, an artist and photographer, recently lost his brother and had family still living in Malpaso, so he was able to contact the mourning parents and request photos of Jimena growing up. He wanted to bring hope to the Adventist family. Gallardo said, "I was moved by Jimena's smile and the photograph that was attached to the tragic news, and I went to work right away to create a happy memory of her." Gallardo works with what is known as photo bashing, a technique where artists merge and blend photographs or 3D assets together while painting and compositing them into one finished piece. He worked for 51 hours on the piece and was able to send it to the family just a day after her funeral. The image went viral on social media. Weeks later, Gallardo, along with Adventist church leaders from the Chiapas Mexican Union, visited the family to deliver a reproduction of his art. The finished image depicts Jimena surrounded by 3 angels being approached by Jesus on the resurrection morning. Jimena's parents, Antonio and Mara, thanked the artist and said they had received the image through social media after the funeral of their little one. The framed image has been an opportunity to testify to other people and share the blessing of hope that sets apart the Seventh-day Adventists. Weeks later, the Gomez family organized an evangelistic campaign in their own home, where their daughter was abducted. Jimena's mother, Mara, said, "We wanted to organize this evangelistic campaign in our home because we know so many people now. This is the moment that we have to use so that people can learn more about the love of God. Many people want to know about the love of God. When they ask us, 'Why are you so calm?' we tell them about the peace that only God gives us." Many of the 29 who attended the evangelistic campaign were visitors, friends, and family members who had never gone to church. Jimena is survived by her parents and 2 older brothers, ages 8 and 11.
To help combat climate change, Pathfinders in the United Arab Emirates took part in planting 1,400 trees in Dubai on November 10th as a part of the Plant a Legacy initiative spearheaded by a Dubai private school. 7 Pathfinders, 4 adventurers, 2 parents, and 15 master guides in training and master guides from the Emirates of Sharjah and Dubai in UAE participated in the completion of planting 15,000 gaff trees in 65 days. Plant a Legacy is a project initiated by the Kindergarten Starters School, a GEMS education series in Dubai aimed to combat climate change. School principal Asha Alexander completed a United Nations climate change course and became an accredited climate change teacher. After completion, she trained her other teachers in the course, and they also became accredited. When the project was open to other organizations, Claudia Bennett, one of the teaching staff, thought this would be a great way to involve and promote the Pathfinder Club in her school. The Bennetts were introduced to Pathfinders and Adventurers 2 years ago and enrolled their children, one in the Adventurer Club and the other in the Pathfinder Club. Both she and her husband are volunteer instructors. Over the years, she has seen the positive impact the clubs have had on her own children, and she has invited colleagues and friends to enroll their children in the clubs as well. The gaff tree planting project reinforced the concept of stewardship to the Pathfinders and Adventurers. They have a duty to help make the community they live in a better place. The gaff tree was chosen because it symbolizes tolerance. It is drought resistant and survives well in harsh desert environments. The Pathfinder uniform is one of many tools used in the region to open channels of communication with people of other faiths. Outreach is not widely allowed, but when someone sees a uniform and starts asking questions, that opens doors of opportunity to respond and share.
In El Salvador, many families commemorate the Day of the Dead by visiting the graves of their loved ones. Thousands of Seventh-day Adventists skip church that day to visit cemeteries, city streets, and communities.
That hope was in the form of a free magazine distributed to more than 400,000 persons with messages on Bible truths, health, strengthening marriages, reaching children and youth, community service, and much more.
It was the first time so many church members invested in buying and distributing the special edition of the Priorities Missionary Magazine. Priorities is a magazine published monthly by the Inter-American Division Publishing Association, which presents a wide variety of articles on family, current events, education, the Bible, and more from a Seventh-day Adventist point of view.
Churches across El Salvador closed their worship services earlier and took to their cities and communities to pray with people and distribute the magazines.
Church leaders were impressed not only with the fact that nearly 500,000 people were reached, but also that so many church members got involved by buying so many issues of the special edition for the evangelistic outreach.
The magazine also included information on the Adventist education system in El Salvador, the work of ADRA in the country, projects and initiatives from Adventist Church Ministries, and community outreach through the Miramonte Adventist Shelter for Families.
The magazine's distributed impact was a prelude to 154 evangelistic campaigns that ran from November 3 through 9.
In addition to the evangelistic efforts to impact the community, more than 2,000 food baskets were delivered to low-income families throughout the country.
Church leaders reported that more than 1,000 new members were added to the church as a result of the evangelistic efforts earlier this month. Leaders are planning additional efforts before the year is over to reach the hearts of many more Salvadorians.
Coming up, an Adventist clinic in Argentina plants a church.
But up next, Adventist members in Guatemala reach out to children in their community.
We may look, pray, read, think, worship, sing, and share differently, but we all look forward to the Sabbath. And we all look forward to the future when Jesus will come again. With this message in mind, we arrived at a core component for a new identity system: the creation grid, a simple 7-column structure for layout. The grid is a reference both to the prophetic timeline as well as to the creation week that culminated in the 7th-day Sabbath. The first 6 columns of the grid belong to the designer. They can be filled with anything: text, images, illustrations, patterns, and logos. But the 7th column, the Sabbath column, does not belong to them. It is meant to be different and special. Regardless of what or where you are designing, you can always find information to help you communicate that we are all Seventh-day Adventists.
Welcome back.
Seventh-day Adventist institutions and organizations throughout Guatemala took the month of October to celebrate children in the church and the community.
That's right, the events coincided with the countrywide celebration Day of the Child, with activities that promote the welfare and rights of children.
Activities were held in the metropolitan area of Guatemala for more than 400 children as part of the church's Union Radio Live program called Arco Iris de los Niños. The program sought to educate, inform, and foster Christian values through puppets, among other activities.
According to statistics by the Refugio de las Niñas NGO in Guatemala, in 2018 there were over 10,000 cases of child abuse, 4,500 cases of sexual violence, and 1,800 cases of sexual assault. These figures are concerning, and church leaders felt it was vital to sponsor these programs to benefit children in the church and the community.
Earlier last month, a team from Union Radio traveled to the jungle region of North Guatemala to benefit dozens of children at the Hogar Campestre Los Pinos, an orphanage facility in Popton, Petén.
Union Radio, which is part of the Adventist communication system in Guatemala, has 2 stations and 9 repeaters covering 70% of the country.
Additional activities will benefit more affected children across Guatemala, including a donation of thousands of blankets for low-income families with children living in the coldest regions of the country.
After many years of work in prayer, an Adventist congregation has begun meeting at the Belgrano Adventist Clinic in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
The institution recently celebrated 60 years of caring for the health of millions of people in the region.
Beyond physical health, mental and spiritual health are fundamental pillars in the integral health of each person who visits the clinic.
The Adventist Church in South America sent this report.
Bueno, hace un tiempo fuimos desafiados para poder plantar un centro de influencia aquí en la Clínica Adventista de Belgrano, en realidad con miras a poder también establecer una iglesia. Así que comenzamos con talleres. Los talleres brindaban espacios para poder justamente mostrar simpatía.
Mi nombre es Graciela y empecé a venir acá a la clínica a los grupos de estrés y realmente me sentí, desde el primer momento me sentí muy cómoda.
El taller que más produjo, digamos, un impacto en el barrio fue el taller de reducción del estrés. Luego el taller de curso de cocina saludable, el plan de 5 días para dejar de fumar, también un taller de biblioterapia donde se estudiaba la Biblia, y como el taller de bienestar emocional y espiritual que se dicta los sábados de la mañana, se recorre las emociones humanas a través de la Biblia. La gente va amistándose con el texto bíblico, algo que no le es, digamos, familiar. Y esto desemboca en un espacio importante, que es el tema de comenzar a estudiar la Biblia con la gente. Desemboca en un espacio importante, que es el tema de comenzar a estudiar la Biblia con la gente.
Yo nunca había estudiado la Biblia, y así que fui conociendo y me encantó. Fui como teniendo más conocimiento sobre Dios y Eso me fue ayudando muchísimo en la parte espiritual, fortaleciendo mi parte espiritual.
Y diferentes líneas de trabajo dieron como resultado el hecho de que hoy tengamos un grupo numeroso de personas, especialmente vecinos del barrio, que asisten y que se reúnen todos los sábados a la mañana.
Y a partir de que tomé la decisión, sí, sentí una alegría interna muy grande. Muy lindo, muy lindo. Pero cuando lo sentís en el corazón, esa es la certeza.
Le damos estudios bíblicos a casi 70 personas. Y ese dar estudios bíblicos, esa gente que viene para eso, se va transformando en personas que toman sus decisiones por Cristo Jesús. Realmente esa es la parte donde uno siente que todo esto está dirigido por el Espíritu Santo. Ese es el momento donde uno se siente utilizado por Dios, donde uno puede ver de que es Jesús quien está en el timón del barco y lo lleva a buen puerto.
Muy, muy lindo, la verdad que, ya te digo, encontré mi familia espiritual, encontré contención, encontré mucho amor de parte de todos, extraordinario por los cambios que produjo en mí.
Coming up, Jennifer Stymiest is here with our social media highlights.
But up next, Adventist Mission has a story about the Maasai tribe.
Many people came and told Jehoshaphat that a vast army was approaching to wage war against him. Alarmed by this news, Jehoshaphat proclaimed a fast for all of Judah. People came from every town in Judah to fast and pray together. We were part of a large group, and Jehoshaphat was earnestly asking God for assistance. Then a man called Jahaziel stood up and said that Jehoshaphat should not be concerned, that it was not his battle, but God's battle.
It was early in the morning when we set out in the desert of Tekoa. We were seriously concerned about facing this huge army, but we were told to have faith. We had also prayed. When our reconnaissance platoon came over the hill, we only saw dead bodies all around. The enemy had apparently turned on each other. Jehoshaphat's prayers had won him the battle, without even having to fight.
Welcome back.
Cows are very valuable to the African Maasai tribe.
So it was very surprising when Adventist leaders learned that a wealthy man had decided to give 100 cows to God.
Wow, Adventist Mission has more.
The Maasai tribe in Africa loves cows. They often wander from place to place, and the cows come with them. Life in the desert can be hard, so when an older person or a baby dies, families have to move on quickly. But when his cow dies, a Maasai man will mourn terribly. He knows that cows are very valuable and help him take care of his family. He loves his cows. So it came as a big surprise to Adventist leaders to hear that a wealthy Maasai man had decided to give 100 of his precious cows as a tithe to God. The man, Abraham, became an Adventist after meeting a global mission pioneer in northern Tanzania and felt impressed to give 1/10 of his cattle as tithe. Abraham called the local pastor to collect the cows. "I don't want to keep what belongs to God," he said. Abraham took the stunned pastor to his field and began to count out the tithe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abraham counted the cows in his herd. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When he reached the 10th cow, he told a helper to put a tag on its ear so the cow would be set aside for tithe. "That one is for the Lord," he said. He counted out 100 cows for tithe. Abraham's Maasai neighbors, who were not Adventist, thought he had gone mad. "Why would you give away your cows?" someone said. "If you can give away 100 cows as tithe, why don't you also count your children and give the 10th child as tithe?" said another. "I know a person in the Bible who didn't even have 10 children," he said. "He only had one, and he was more than willing to return that child to God. His name was Abraham too." After Abraham returned the tithe of 100 cows to God, something strange happened to his cattle. His cows started giving birth to twins. Cows usually give birth to just one calf at a time, but all of Abraham's cows began to give birth to twins. The neighbors were shocked. Abraham had given away 100 cows, and now he had more cows than ever before. "Call your pastor," one neighbor said. "I also want to give a tithe. We want our cows to have twins too," said another. Abraham marveled at how God was blessing him and decided that he didn't want to return just one tithe, he wanted to give 2 tithes. He called the Adventist pastor again. "When I gave the 100 cows as tithe 9 months ago, I wanted to see what would happen," Abraham said. "I have seen so many blessings. Instead of having one calf, my cows started having twins." Abraham took the pastor to his field and counted out double tithes, 2 cows out of every 10. The pastor was amazed by how God had blessed Abraham's faithfulness. "You are never losing when you return to God," the pastor said. "The Lord is faithful. He will even multiply what little you have."
Watch this and other mission stories online by visiting AdventistMission.org, then click on videos at the top.
Every year on Thanksgiving, people in the United States gather with family and friends to give thanks for all the ways God has blessed them throughout the year.
We recently asked some of our ANN contributors that question. Here's how they responded. Jennifer Stymius has more.
Next week, on Thursday, November 28th, we celebrate Thanksgiving here in the United States. So I wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you to you, our viewers, for watching our program each week. Today, we recorded the 433rd episode of ANN. That's more than 8 years of Adventist news. We've never missed an episode. That cannot be done without an amazing team of producers, writers, anchors, editors, makeup artists, and news contributors who work each week to put our episodes together. To each of them, I say thank you. I appreciate you more than I can say. We want to know what you are thankful for this holiday season, so make sure you tag us in your posts and tell us how God has blessed your life. Or you can use the hashtag ANNGrateful. We asked some of our team here at the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church what they're thankful for this year. Here's what they said.
I am thankful for my wonderful team here at the GC. Also grateful for my health and just God continue to keep me each and every day.
I am really thankful for my family and for the support that they give me each and every day. I really love them.
This year, I am so thankful for peace of mind.
I'm thankful for all the beautiful people that are in the world and the meaningful connections we can have to one another.
I'm grateful for life, health, opportunity, and the love of friends.
I'm thankful for the fall weather and the fall colors that came through, even though it was super short.
I'm thankful for my family, for my friends, for good health, and that the kids started kindergarten this year.
I'm thankful for people in my life who are encouraging me to do better, to be great, and go after my passion.
I'm incredibly grateful for having all the basics taken care of so I can focus on my family and relationships. We are incredibly blessed people.
And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history.
This week, we learn about the ministry of Earl Lake Gardner.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On November 20, 1985, Earl Lake Gardner, missionary educator, died in Nebraska at the age of 83. Converted at the age of 21, while a student at the University of Nebraska, Earl finished his studies at Union College. On graduating, he became a teacher in church schools. On May 21, 1928, he married Elva Babcock, and they volunteered to serve as missionaries. You see Earl and Elva here, photographed in 1929, the year they were called to serve in India. Earl was ordained, and the couple sailed from New York City in July 1930. Earl became principal of the Kottarakara Secondary School in Travancore in southwest India. He and Elva served there for the next 7 years. In addition to teaching in Malayalam, the local language, they operated a clinic, and Earl conducted evangelistic meetings. He then was appointed business manager and science professor at Spicer College, where they worked until 1941, when, after 11 years missionary service, the Gardners returned to the United States. 4 years later, however, they went as missionaries again, this time to the Caribbean. Earl and Elva were both on the faculty of West Indies College in Jamaica for 3 years. These photographs of Earl and Elva were taken in 1945 when they were called to the Caribbean. The Gardners did not serve as long as some missionaries, but they are significant because in 2 divisions, they helped to train the national workers who would take over from the missionaries. On November 23, 1895, the first Seventh-day Adventist church in Trinidad and Tobago was organized at Cuba with 28 members. Seen here, the church was dedicated by Elder Edwin Webster, but he built on the work done by Charles Adamson, a Barbadian literature evangelist, and by Elder Andrew Flowers, an American missionary who died in Trinidad of yellow fever after just 4 months of service. At the end of 2018, the 28 members of 123 years before had grown 2,400-fold, with 67,780 church members reported in Trinidad and Tobago. And that was this week in Adventist history.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
We'd love to hear from you. Send us your feedback. Tell us how your church is making a difference in its community.
Be sure to capture plenty of video footage and photos, then write up a summary of the event's important details, and feel free to send full video reports as well.
And you can reach us by sending an email to annvideo11@gmail.com.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news from the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 1.
The passage says, "I will send my messenger who will prepare the way before me. Then suddenly the Lord you are seeking will come to his temple. The messenger of the covenant whom you desire will come, says the Lord Almighty."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.